All right, we're going to get started. Welcome. Hi, Thomas. How are you? Good. Awesome. Well, welcome to live lecture 2. We met yesterday, went over your assignment 1 review and your discussion 1. I see some of you guys are getting started on your discussion, which is great. Don't forget the intro post for this week as well. You can even post pictures of yourself if you want in the intro post. It's always nice to see, who you guys are, especially because this is an online environment. So, definitely go ahead and do that. All right, as we go forward today, that's actually a picture of me doing some sketches for a client that I had many years ago. And this is kind of what you guys are going to be doing for your upcoming projects. You should be kind of going through your design process and doing research. Before we get started, I thought maybe I would start the class off with showing some fun facts about certain brands. And some things you might know, some things you might not know. So let's take a look. This is a very established brand, Coca-Cola. I'm sure you've heard of this brand for sure. A little fun fact derived from the coca leaves and kula nuts used as flavoring. Founder John Pemberton changed the K of kula to C to make the name look better. Interesting. Another one is, did you know what the Nike swoosh represents? So it actually is a symbol of the Greek goddess of victory, symbolizes her flight. So it goes back into ancient times there. I know I took Latin class, so we kind of learned about this as well. It's very interesting. Here's one that, hey, I grew up with, Legos, combination of the Danish leg godt, which means to play well. Lego also means I put together in Latin, but Lego Group claims this is only a coincidence. So it's kind of a good coincidence, right? So kind of interesting. Here's Skype. The original concept was Sky peer-to-peer, which morphed into Skyper and then Skype. So sometimes names kind of shorten themselves as they go forward with, a certain brand. Here's a really famous one here, a well-known one, I should say, recognizable, named after Starbuck, a character in Herman Melville's novel, Moby Dick. A little siren there. And it's kind of interesting to see the evolution of Starbucks logo. Now they're down to a very simple icon without even a name attached, and everybody kind of, for the most part, knows it's a universal symbol for sure. Volkswagen means people's car in German. You might not know that. I know I had a Volkswagen Jetta many years ago, and I actually did not know this until I looked into it for this class. Wendy's. Wendy was the nickname of founder Dave Thomas's daughter, Melinda. Kind of a little cute fun fact there. And I think Wendy's just updated their logo from this one, so this is the older one. Adobe. The name Adobe came from the Adobe Creek that ran behind the house of co-founder John Warnock. So it's kind of funny how names kind of come about. Yeah, I saw that. Some theorize about the Wendy's new logo neckline says mom. Interesting. Amazon, I think this one, this is the .com one. So Jeff Bezos wanted a name for his company that began with an A so that would appear early in alphabetic order. He began looking through the dictionary and settled on Amazon because it was the river he considered the biggest in the world, as he hoped his company would be. Interesting. IBM, in order to one-up his former employer's National Cash Register, Tom Watson Sr., called his company International Business Machines. So that's kind of what IBM stands for, if you didn't know that. IKEA, great place to shop. A composite of the first letters and the Swedish founder Ingvar Kamprad's name, I can say his name, plus the first letters of the names of the property and the village in which he grew up. And I'm not even going to attempt to say that word, so interesting. All right, so we're going to just get a couple of fun facts about certain brands you might not know of and or know about. So it's always kind of fun to look into, say, say, hey, how did they come up with that name? And, you know, the meanings behind certain things. All right, so as we go forward for this lecture, for lecture 2, week 1, we're gonna do a little quiz review of what we went over yesterday. Just a quick little fun quiz, nothing, you know, crazy, just kind of a little review. We're gonna talk about bad advertisement placement. And then we're gonna take a look at, I'm actually gonna do an assignment 1 demo real quick, and then we'll review your assessment 1, and I can do a demo of that as well. Before I go forward, did you have any questions or comments that you'd like to bring up there, Thomas? No, you're the only one in here, so I'm picking on you. Nope, we're good to go. All right, let's see how much you remembered from yesterday. Excuse me, for those of you who are just listening to the recording, just kind of in your mind, picture the letter that you think it is. We talked about this particular question. What is within advertising that leads people to spend money on things that they may not need? Do you remember? Facts, humor, or persuasion? What do you think? Just type in the letter there, Thomas, if you know the answer. Okay, you said B. Well, I'm sure humor could be a part, but I was looking for more of persuasion. We talked about persuasion a lot. The art of persuasion. We talked about persuasive strategies. Good try, though. All right, how about this one? The effective use of rhetorical strategies such as applications of blank, blank, and blank links back to classic Greek rhetorical theory. Is it research, observation, practice, logos, ethos, pathos, or persuasion, logos, pathos? Okay, you said A. I was looking for more B. We talked about logos, ethos, and pathos. Good thing we're doing this review. Remember how we talked about the 3 principles, strategies, as far as the rhetorical strategies. This is the kind of what we looked at here. So which word describes what the definition of ethos is? Do you remember? Is it trust, authority, seek understanding, and being understood, or anger and fear? And look at the other ones. Logos is logic and reason. Pathos is emotional and beliefs. What do you think ethos would be? Take a guess. Yes, good. Trust and authority. Perfect. So that would be showing trust and authority in the brand. You can even have like testimonials would be part of that. That's a great strategy. Having actual people who are quoting about the product or service is always a great strategy. So you have the 3 here of the strategy in terms of your persuasive strategy. The communication of advertisement speaks simultaneously within the universality of what? Rhetoric, brand identity, or repetition? Oh, right? Excuse me. B. I was looking for A. So that was a little tricky one. So rhetoric is the communication of advertisement speaks simultaneously. That's kind of like the little guess there of the universality of rhetoric. It was a little tricky one. Good try. Okay, blank is imperative in advertisement. What am I looking for? Brand standards, brand book, or brand recognition? What do you think the best answer is? Well, you could say that I was looking for brand recognition. Remember how if a brand is not recognizable, it's not going to be as effective, right? So brand recognition is something that you need to think about when you're creating or revising a logo, and also brand identities. When I say brand identity pieces, I'm talking about like anything that has the logo on it. And that's kind of a good point to bring up, because, you know, a lot of students come through, and when they go through and they design logos, sometimes they show the logo in a different way, completely different in different applications. Maybe it's stretched and distorted on one piece. Maybe, you know, they're kind of changing the font on another piece. that consistency is so important for brand recognition. You need to have a consistent logo looking the same. Now, that doesn't mean you have to have it exactly the same in terms of the color. You know, maybe you change, if it's on a darker color, you might need to switch around some colors to make it more contrasted. But for the most part, you have the same logo showing. It's not changing the font or anything like that. Okay, through branding, advertisers can utilize blank to establish the credibility of the product. Advertisers can utilize images, symbols, or websites. This is a little tricky one too. See if you can guess the answer, B or A. There you go. You're like A, B, or C. I was looking for B, symbols. Remember we talked about that with symbols like Apple, just using the symbol. So yeah, that's what I was looking for. Good guess. I don't know if we went over this one, so just take a wild guess on this one. This is a quote, blank equals advertisement in shorthand. Add brand identities or logos. See if you get this one. We did not go over this, so I'm going to see if you can take a good guess. Blank equals advertisement in shorthand. C or B? Yep, C. So logo equals advertisement in shorthand. Good. That was a tricky one. That was an actual logo too, or a quote too. Okay, emotional branding creates a blank bond between customers and brands. An instant bond, a memorable bond, or an invisible bond. What do you think is the best? Okay, so yeah, C. C is the invisible bond between customers and brands. Good. What is decorum? Do you remember when we talked about this? Is it the appropriateness of behavior or conduct, the opportune occasion for speech, or how an audience shapes the composition of a text or responds to it? A or C? All right, so yeah, A is the answer, appropriateness of behavior or conduct. Do you ever hear somebody say, watch your decorum? That's kind of what they're talking about. So, you know, advertisements can have a specific decorum for sure. Okay, what is logos? And we're not talking about logos, we're talking about logos. The persuasive appeal of one's character, the appeal to emotion, or the appeal to reason. We're talking about the rhetorical strategy logos. Excuse me. Woo. The appeal to emotion. Well, we're looking for appeal to reason. So that would be more of, you know, facts. Good guess, though. What about ethos? This is kind of narrowing it down here. Which one do you think ethos is? Oh, yes, it appeals to emotion. Good. I don't think I have the next slide for that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I do have the next slide for that. Appeal of one's character. So the persuasive appeal of one's character. I'm sorry. So I have the, what is pathos? Do you know what pathos is? Persuasive appeal of one's character, the appeal to emotion, and the appeal to reason. This is kind of like narrowing it down. Yes, emotion, good. So I showed this yesterday. It can get kind of confusing, but for the most part, these are the three categories here. So you have ethos. So it's talking about trustworthiness, educated, reliable, credible, honest, fair. So they kind of base it on character. Yeah. Pathos, emotion. So it plays off of love, pity, justice, patriotism, hope, jealousy, anger, fear. You could do a little screenshot there if you want. And I can post this in the announcements too. Logos is based off of reason. So case studies, cause and effect, authority, analogies, statistics, anecdote. So just really good to know because, you know, you want to make sure you're using the strategies effectively and using the appropriate ones. And you don't just have to use one. You could use multiple strategies as well. All right. Good job, though. I mean, it's always good that we go over some of these terms and understand, you know, what it's all about. Because, you know, sometimes when I talk about it, it doesn't sink in until we review it too. So good job. All right, let's take a look at some bad advertisement placement. I think these are kind of really fun to look at. So, you know, when we're designers, we have to think about not only what the actual thing that we are designing for, but where it's going to be placed. Here's a fail here. Take a look at these two billboards. One on the top is raising awareness about childhood obesity. Don't take it lightly. And then right below it is a nice McDonald's ad billboard. So probably not the best placement. So typically when you are designing, you know, for a specific place that you know your ad is going to be next to somebody else's ad or product, you want to make sure you know what that ad is going to be about, especially in a magazine. I've worked for many publication companies, and it is crazy how advertisers can be so brands and companies have to be really aware of where their ad is going to be placed. And then designers also have to be aware of this too, because you could put two competitors side by side and that could cause issues. I mean, depending on how they feel about that too. So sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. But for some of these are more of like working errors and placement errors. This is one that's kind of funny. Starbucks van, not kind of thinking about what the van wrap would do once the door is open. So always testing it out, making sure that it's not looked at in any different way than it should be looked at. Here is a bad placement of an ad, of a billboard ad, where it's actually located by the storefront. So storefront is a funeral care place. And then right on the flip side is Walking Dead billboard. So sorry, you might be hearing. I might have to close the window here. I'm gonna give me 1 minute here. All right, we had somebody revving up their engine outside. All right, the next one is, I'm a big Walking Dead fan, so that's kind of funny. Here is a bus, kind of like a little bus station where you can sit and wait for the bus. And on the opposite side of the bus station is an ad for Mike's Hard Lemonade. And it says, if it ain't broke, break it. So yeah, a little bit suggestive there. You know, if it's on glass or by glass, you just never know. Some things you don't really have much control over, but here's a funny little one where it's, you know, you don't see much of this anymore as far as CD places you go in and buy CDs, but this is kind of a funny one. And again, sometimes you just don't have that much of a control over where that's going to be placed. Here's one publication. This is a great example of two ads that probably shouldn't be side by side. On the left, talking about skin cancer awareness, and then on the very right it says oops, because, you know, look at how the headline is, my sister accidentally killed herself. Oops. Probably not the best two side by side ads to have. Yeah. Here's a funny one. This looks like it would be in Kohl's or something, or maybe Macy's. So, you know, understanding where this is going to be placed as a designer, you need to kind of know if, okay, this is going to be placed near another ad. What is it going to look like? Here's one, another billboard one, and McDonald's again. And on the very top is a diabetes awareness campaign ad. And the one on the bottom is McDonald's. So kind of crazy. Yeah, so definitely sometimes designers, we think, okay, the project's done, you know, you don't think about the end placement of it sometimes. So you really have to be aware of how that's going to be launched, where it's going to be. It's not over yet because you just never know. You just never know. So just kind of be aware of that. All right, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go over your assignment 1 just very quickly here, show you some ideas of how you could get started. But before we do that, did you have any questions of whatever we just went over? We just kind of did some review and looked at some fun things, but if you have any questions, let me know. Okay. All right, so again, for assignment 1, what you are to do, and I'm glad I'm pulling this up because this link in here wasn't quite working, so I actually fixed it. So if you click on this link, you should be good to go now. The original link, the website didn't exist anymore, so I changed it to another link that is very relative to what the other one would be. So go ahead and click on that. Now it works. All right, so you are to go, and I went over this yesterday, so if you missed the lecture, we kind of reviewed a little bit. I did not show a demo, so I'm going to kind of start that very quickly here. You're going to go through some of these case studies of the before and after, and what I would suggest is choose one that interests you the most. Kind of read through each one of these so you understand who the client is and what they're looking for. So let me give you an example here, Sunny's Barbecue. So you just click on the actual icon and it's going to tell you where it's at. It's a rebrand, tell you the industry. And then not only is it going to show you, it might even show you a video here of the rebrand. It's going to explain underneath kind of the setting where it's at, the challenge, what was the problem, to kind of understanding a little bit more about the company itself, the strategy behind kind of the rebrand. So you kind of get an idea. They also give you, maybe a link to their website so you can investigate more about who they are. But I guess the key thing is here, I would definitely look at the before logo. So I would say if I were to do this project and I wanted to redo Sunny's, I would just try to do the before, not the after, just because I think you guys will definitely have more success in doing the rebranding of the before, because I think, some of the ones that are the afters are really nicely done. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you can't, you can always challenge yourself for sure. But, I would highly suggest to do the before. So if I were to redo this, I'm going to just pull this off, this actual logo. I'm going to see if I can pull it off onto my desktop. I'm going to do a screenshot here. I'm going to read about this brand, kind of immerse myself in this. You can even go online and do more investigating. You don't necessarily just have to take the information on this website about Sunny's. You might have even dined at Sunny's. I actually dined, I think, a couple of times in Florida. They had Sunny's down there, and I went in to eat a couple of times there. So if you actually experience the brand, you might want to go forward with that particular project to redo it. Okay, so once you're done, I would definitely start with your sketches. After researching about the brand, you could start with an adjective list of 10 adjectives that come into your mind when you're reading through the project details. What adjectives do you think come into mind when you think about this brand? You could do mind maps. These are just some process design steps that we can do to come up with more effective concepts that are more meaningful. And that's really the beauty behind what we do as designers. That's kind of like the story behind the concept. And we come up with more meaningful, like I said, more meaningful ideas that way that we may not have thought about before. So let me see if I actually have a brand book to show you. Let me see here. I might have it online. Let me check here real quick. Just to show you the process that I'm talking about. Because sometimes talking about is good, but we're all visual people and we like to see an actual visual of what we're talking about. So let me bring up a brand book that I worked on that might help you understand. Okay, I think I have my little slide share here. Okay, let me stop sharing. This is a brand book that I did for an actual company in St. Petersburg, Florida. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. And I just redid their logo. And the brand book kind of shows my process steps. Actually, this is the brand book. So this is actually going to show you the after of process steps. So let me go forward here. This is what I created. This is actually the after I kind of went through this. So I'm showing you the final logos here. So it's probably not the best thing to show you. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to show you the process steps. Process steps of how I got there. And I have something somewhere here. I just have to find it. Okay. Here is a process book that this is a different project, but nonetheless, it's a process book. And this is going to show you how I got to the actual final product, which in this case, it was an event that I held. So it's very extensive, this process book, but I just wanted to show you kind of what went into this. So when you start a project, it's always good to kind of do research. And here I am doing research about a concept that I was thinking about for this particular event that I was going to hold for raising awareness and raising money for homelessness in Tampa. So, research is key. So research and documentation, doing the research, immersing yourself in the brand itself. Who are these people? What's the brand all about? That's what you guys should be immersing yourself into. Then understanding the target audience. Who are they actually, what's the problem you're trying to solve, and who are you talking to in the target audience? This is just more of my research. Now I wanted to show you this because I started and I don't know why this isn't coming up, a word adjective list here. Let's see if I could bring up the list again. Hold on. These are just kind of me thinking about the process, where it's going to be held. These are all my own images that I took. I guess it doesn't have my adjective list, unless that wasn't coming up here. Here we go. So here I am. I had an adjective list. I think it's going forward here. I'm looking up. This is what you guys should be doing, looking up logos that you are inspired by, that you think that you might kind of be inspired by, maybe a typeface that you like, that you want to use for your particular rebrand. It has to be relative and appropriate to that brand, but you can be inspired by the colors, the typeface, the shapes, the look of it. And that's kind of what I was inspired by here. So here I am kind of sketching out ideas for the logo. Here's my mind maps that I did. So you could definitely do some mind maps. Mind maps are great because you can come up with really interesting concepts based off of one word or one idea that you might not have thought about. Here's me kind of exploring with different materials, looking at different ads or posters that I was inspired by. But I just wanted to show you this because this is all part of that process, sketching out what you want to do. So for your process, it would be kind of coming up with some logos, sketching out some logos, keywords that you want to focus in on. The adjective list is really kind of interesting because if you can think of adjectives, you can pull from that. Typefaces that align with those adjectives, colors that align with those adjectives, shapes, the overall look of it. This is kind of getting into more of the details here, so I'm going to kind of stop. I don't want to overwhelm you. But the process is really, really important, okay? The process is the beauty behind what we do. If you jump right into it, you can definitely come up with something visually interesting and aesthetically pleasing, but it probably isn't going to work because you don't have the research, you don't have the meaning behind kind of the backstory behind it, that you could definitely find more effective solutions if you're doing the process steps. Okay, so if I'm doing Sunny's Barbecue, I'm gonna look up their website. I'm gonna kind of immerse myself into the brand. I know you can't see my screen here, hold on. So I kind of go online on their website, check out their website, what it looks like, kind of immerse yourself into what they look like. I mean, even now with their rebrands, look at their menu, look at all their stuff that they have to offer, and just get a good idea of where they are. I'm going to do a redesign of their older logo, so kind of some of the adjectives that I think of when I think of Sunny's is smoky and sweet and, you know, gritty, outback, you know, kind of some of those words. Now, typeface is really, really important. So, you know, if you have a type kit, Adobe type kit, that's great. You can also look up free fonts online. So once you start thinking about, you know, when you start thinking about your kind of the direction that you want to go, you can, you know, go in and you check out how the name would look in some of these fonts. Now you might look under certain categories that you think would best be appropriate for your brand. Just make sure it aligns well with the brand itself. For this one, I probably would say more of a this is probably not the best website here. Let me go back. There's a whole bunch of different free typeface. There's distorted and eroded. Check out that. And then you can also type in the name here. So Sunny's would be something that I would type in, and then it should show it within that typeface. And you can kind of, you know, try out a couple. There's some interesting ones in here for sure. Some of them may not be as appropriate. So really kind of go through, you know, this one maybe more for like a music type of a situation. Some of these are pretty cool though. And make sure it's readable. This one happens to be a little bit more of a unconventional typeface. I'm going to download this one just to check it out. Download that. And then, so that one is 28 days later. We're going to upload that into my, install it into my font suitcase here. And 28 days later, I'll try this one maybe. Hard Rock. Some of the letters are a little hard to see there, so it depends. Nope, I don't want Hard Rock. I don't want this one. I think I clicked on the wrong one. Whoops, sorry. So just kind of like scroll through here and see, you know, what you think fits best for the brands. You might not find any. You might have to go to another site or, you know, do more research. But, you know, definitely something that relates to, unifies with the brand keywords. This is actually a cool one right here. I'm going to download just two, so I'll stop right here. So this is white, what is this? White Funky Rabbit. And 28 days later, so I have two. kind of interesting name, White Funky Rabbit. Okay, when I'm ready to kind of experiment with that font, I'm going to open up Illustrator. You can do sketches of the kind of an idea of what you want if you're doing a word mark, which would be a symbol along with a combination mark symbol with the actual word itself, the company's name. Okay, when I'm ready to go, does it give you a size dimension here in our assignment? I forgot. 4 by 4. So you want 4 by 4. So 4 inches. Make sure it says inches by 4 inches. And you want 3 artboards. Everything else looks good. So it should look like that. You can rearrange your artboards so they're like all vertical. And let me show you how to do that. Let me reset my layout panels. So just go to Window and go to Artboards. And when the Artboards panel comes up, you can just click on the flyout on the upper right-hand corner. Rearrange Artboards. And you can order these depending on how you would like to see these displayed. You can kind of pick and choose what you want. You can do columns, grid by row, grid by column, arrange by flow, arrange by column. So if you wanted to do one column, just like top to bottom, you could do that, or the other way where it's more horizontal. All right, so now I would take your type tool and just type out the name. And then I would try different typefaces that you think would work well with this. Oops, sorry. I just accidentally hit that button. Bring up your character palette, your type character palette panel. Get rid of these. 23, was it 23 days? Did it not download? Okay, let's try the white one. White Funky Rabbit was one of the ones that I looked at. All right. Then what you want to do is, try it in all capital letters. See what it looks like in all caps. Maybe one's all caps, the other one isn't. I'll play around with that. I like that one. Start thinking about once you kind of get, let me keep going here because I want to show you kind of how I would do this. Typically, it's really, really important to just kind of get that idea of, play around with the fonts. If you just stop at one font that you like, you might kind of miss out on something that would work better. I'm trying to find the other one that I downloaded, but I'm not sure where it went. Let me see if I have any other ones that would be appropriate here. I guess the other one didn't download, or upload, I should say. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of play off their old one, but in a different way. So what you could do, I mean, this definitely can change to this particular typeface with that one. Kind of play around with that. So you don't necessarily have to use the same typeface for all of this. Like say if you want to just change the other one so that you have a more dynamic look, you can do that. Something like that would work well together. And then, you'll kind of have to figure out alignment and all that next. But basically what we're doing is just playing with typefaces, trying to figure out what's the most appropriate. I don't know why the other one didn't download. That kind of was a nice one too. Let me see. So you wouldn't really pick anything that's too feminine for this particular client. you want more masculine type of a look, you know, you think about your target audience you're speaking to. I'm not saying that it's not going to target women either, but you know, when you think about cooking out and barbecue, you know, get that whole manly aspect of it coming through. So you want to show that grit. You want to show the, you know, the more masculine look to it. So you wouldn't really use super skinny typeface like that. That's more elegant. You would be more in the lines of, well, this one, something that looks gritty and stamped maybe, or burned in type of a look. This actually looks like saris, so I'm gonna get rid of that one. It's starting to read really weird. Okay, so once you kind of start playing around with typefaces, you can start eliminating some that you think are not as strong. Bold. Would it bold be better? Yeah, I mean, I guess if you had a typeface that had that option, had that font family in it, you would definitely use that, a bold setting, if they had that option. All right. Would bold be better? That's okay. Yep, more bold letter typefaces for this particular brand would probably be the best. Excuse me. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to eliminate all the ones. I actually really like this one. I'm going to go with this one for now. Actually, I'm going to go back to what I just did, because you need 3 concepts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull some of these down here. I'm going to do this one as this concept, this one for this one. Hold on one second. We got stuff going on here in the background. Okay, so 3D, I'm not so much into the 3D type of effects, just because I think, you know, for this particular client, I think just a more simplified typeface that looks more gritty would be appropriate. You really have to watch with 3D. You don't really want to overdo the 3D type of effect, because sometimes it's not real versatile in some ways. And I mean that by, like, what are you going to apply it to? Think about, it's not just going to be a logo on a white background. You might be applying it to metal, different materials. So sometimes 3D can be a little tricky, but it all depends. It all depends on the client and what the purpose of it is. So, but the idea is to do 3 separate concepts for this particular client. So I'm going to do 3 separate typefaces that are completely different from each other. And I'm going to start in that direction here. So I'm going to pick one more typeface that I want to play around with that I think would work. And they could be completely different in terms of the look. They should be a different concept, but have that same relatable, appropriate appeal to them with the whole overall brand. This is just a good way to kind of get it started here. Here's a really good one. Although the barbecue, I'm not sure about. Okay, so then start just playing around with everything else where you like, you know, this position to be. Maybe you want it to be more centered. You know, just start playing around with the actual logo itself. This is where you can start to really have some fun with, you know, some of the design aspects. Just make sure anything that you add in there, it's going to unify with the actual typeface and everything else. So for this, I probably use something more gritty. The lines, not sure if this is actually, make it a little thinner here. Something that, you know, unifies with that whole look that we're trying to get. And start playing around with it. When you're done, and I'm not saying I'm completely done with this, but just for ease of time here. We're going to do an alt drag. We're going to copy it on the same artboard, the same exact logo. The only change that you need to do is make one color and one black and white. Okay, so this is already in black and white. If this was kind of like what I wanted to do, I didn't want to add any color, then I would say reverse it out. What does it look like reversed out? Sorry. This needs to be white with black inside. And so, you know, kind of if you're going with that black and white look, which you might go for some of these concepts, that's kind of how I would do it for this two variations. Oops, make sure this is off the same here. 41, and then this is 34. I'm just trying to keep this consistent. Okay, I'm going to name this before I lose it. Assignment 1, equal this, desktop. Okay. Same thing with this one. You know, you can add elements in here. Maybe you wanted to add like a stamp of some sort, you know, like that you see in grilling. And that's another thing. You might want to look up, you know, barbecue images, kind of get you started with the whole idea of different concepts. So let's see here if I could bring up something that I can show you that might, maybe barbecue logos is something that you would look up, just an image search. So let's do that. That's a great example to start. This is what I would probably do before I even started like my ideas. So I just looked up barbecue logos, and you know, this is where you can grab and get started, like really start to dig into, okay, this is the trends. I really like this element of this. And you're gonna, this is kind of cool, a little grill thing, you know, kind of get inspired by what you see. Don't copy it, but just kind of get inspired and say, hey, I like the look of this. Is my design on point with what's good out there right now? What's trending? You know, just get some ideas of what you can do. There's some great things in here. You don't necessarily need to know how to draw. If you can find icons to put in there very easily, that could be like a dingbat font or something that you can find online very quickly that you can trace out. So let me show you that actually. I can show you an example of what I would do if I wanted to trace something out. So let me go and look up barbecue tools. Or barbecue tool icon. So say I wanted to put this in my icon. I'll click on it. I'm going to drag this off onto my desktop. So I have it as an image. I'm going to go back to Illustrator. And say I want to put it right in that circle. Well, I'm going to place it first. So go File, Place. I'm going to find the image from my desktop, that ping image. Go ahead and place it in here. And then I'm going to do an image trace. On the very top, when you have that selected, you should have an image trace option. And it really works well with white and black icon pictures. And then before I do anything, I want to hit expand. And this will create your vectors, so you can now go in and take out the background. And what I mean by that, you can't see what I'm talking about right now, but if I were to have my round circle behind here with black, you're going to see that white part. So what I'm going to do is I just hit expand. I'm going to click on the white part and hit delete. So I'm getting rid of that black background, or the white background, sorry. Now I'm going to take this and just shrink it down. Hold that shift key, shrink it down, place it in there, and then just make it a little smaller together here. Group this, and then I can center it. And make it a little smaller. It's a little big. We want to keep it balanced. I like the whole stamp look of that. And then, oops, and then I can rotate it too, just to kind of get a nice little rotation happening. So it's kind of like a little stamp there going on. Kind of interesting. All right, so if I wanted to do a color variation, I would stick with at least 2 colors that look, you know, are good together. You could still stick with 1 if that's appropriate. I think this one I'm just going to do 1 and stick with maybe like a, I want to do like a reddish brown. So this looks like barbecue. Do that barbecue look. Make this white. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna actually make this a swatch here. My colors here together. There we go. All right. So I just want to make this that same color. That's good. Just make sure it's centered on your layout presentation wise. I probably would change the little comma here so it's more appropriate for, or not a comma, place in here. Here's my character. Keep it simple. The idea is to, you don't want to go too crazy with the logo. If it's just as simple as this typeface and nothing more, then that's good if it works for that. Find something that would work with this a little bit better. This doesn't look like a dashed line there. And then, if you need to, adjust the kerning, do that. Spacing out. There we go. If you see any weird spaces, no, take care of that for sure. All right, so that could be a concept, possibly. And then maybe this one. Let me see if I can find. I actually really like this one. I think this works really well, just as is, although there's no little, let's do this little. All right, so keep it simple. Don't go too crazy. I can introduce. Excuse me. Oh, like choking today. You know, the square again, if I think that works well for it, maybe I'll just do a simple one. If I do that, obviously I have to do it this. I'm just going to copy this. Maybe for this one, oops. Thank you. Something completely different. That's the red I picked. There we go. Okay. Or you could just show it without the border and what it would look like with a darker background. Okay. Any questions about that? Maybe some ideas of what you can do with this. Oops, sorry. Your chat. All right, listen, I'm going to take a 5-minute break and then we're going to go forward with the rest of the assignment materials and then we'll go over your assignment one. Sound good? Take a little break here. Oops, hold on. I lost my chat area. I don't know what you said. All right, so I'll meet you back here in 5 minutes. All right, let's get back to it. So I'm going to open up Illustrator again. Just real quick, just want to go over how to export this out. So when you're done, everything looks great, hopefully. The instructions say to save it as the specified name, and then include a PDF with multiple pages, multiple artboards. And that's really easy to do. So I'm going to show you guys real quick here. So just make sure you have a black and white version and a colored variation. I do have one that's just purely black and white for the final, so then I just showed it with a dark black background, and that's fine too. Just make sure that you at least have 2 other color variations for concepts, at least. Okay, I'm going to save as, and I'm going to choose Adobe PDF and make sure all is checked. And then click save, and you can choose the small file size. PDF is fine. And then once you're done saving it out as a PDF, open that PDF up just to take a look at it. You might notice some things last minute, but just make sure all 3 pages are in there to submit. Any questions about that? Okay, and don't forget, and we talked about this yesterday because Thomas had shown us a video about different effects that you can place upon your type. So there might be a possibility that you might want to check out some of those tutorials on how to do that, and just kind of experiment with it if you think it works for the brand that you're going to rebrand for. So this is your experimentation part of the assignment. Go out, look at tutorials for their specific styles that you can try out. Just make sure that you're designing it in Illustrator and not Photoshop. So just kind of make sure that that is covered. You want a vector-based logo. You don't want a raster-based logo. All right. So that's pretty much everything that we kind of covered for this particular assignment. I'm going to go on and read over your assessment 1. If you have any other questions about your assignment 1, let me know. But that is pretty much it. Assessment 1, you are basically going to be explaining why you did what you did. So it's kind of a rationale. Go ahead and read through this background information. I'm going to go right to the prompt. So for this assessment, you will write a paper. So this is the critical thinking part. Write a paper explaining your design decisions for your logo design. Communication is top skill valued in nearly every profession, but it becomes especially important in the design industry. The ability to expertly explain design decisions to employers and clients is critical to the success of any design project. So this is kind of like a reflection of you kind of explaining it to the client why you did what you did. And this is why the process is so important, because you can even write about, I started doing the research for the company. I noticed these keywords. I noticed the company, and, bring up some key facts about the company, maybe bring up some adjective words that you were basing off some of your concepts with, explain the process and how you came up with what you came up with. So assignment instructions: create a professional 2-page document using InDesign. I'm actually going to open that up while we're reading. The size is 8.5 by 11, so portrait format is what your page layout should be. You should have 1 cover page that includes the logo rebrand. So it's like a cover page. And then 1 page explaining your design decisions for your logo design. Minimum 250 words that address each of the following design decisions. And you can go ahead and copy and paste that into your document if that allows you to be, kind of key that in easier. Number 1, what brand key points does the logo convey? And then the brand key points could be included in the summary given on the website. So you can kind of take that information off of there. You can research the brand itself online and get that information. And you can also add in your adjectives there as well. What makes the logo different from its competitors? This is where it's important to do your research. Who are the competitors? How are you aligning this so it's different than the competitors? Number 3, why did you choose the colors that you chose? Why did you choose the typefaces that you chose? So you're kind of explaining your design decisions here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up InDesign. So 8.5 by 11 portrait. Hold on 1 second there. I see that you typed in the chat area. Give me 1 minute while I switch out my screens, because I can't see the chat area right now. Hold on. Can we type in Word, then copy and paste it in InDesign? Yes, you can do that. So the cover, you can get creative with this. Say you want to maybe make it all black, or the color that you're using for your logo. You can definitely do that. This is actually all black. There we go. You don't have to do it all black, but that's just kind of an option. Okay, I'm going to go back to my Illustrator file. Let me go back and show you what I would do here. So once you decide on, does this say you have to put all 3 in here? Who's the logo rebrand? Okay, so once you decide on, I don't know if you should show all of these. Okay, so basically, and it doesn't say in the instructions, so I'm going to clarify this a little bit. Once you're done with your 3 concepts, you are going to choose the one that you think is the strongest, okay? And you can decide this in many ways. You can get other people's opinions, collaboratively. You can ask me, you can ask your peers. I can put up, actually, I will put up another discussion board, so you guys can definitely share that if you want some extra critiques from you guys, or you can just get somebody in your house, your friends, whoever, to kind of say, hey, I think this is the strongest one. Once you decide, export that logo out. And how you would do so in Illustrator, just go File, Export As, and we're going to save it as a PNG file. And the reason why we're doing this is because the background won't come with it. You're just having a transparent background with that. Now we want to make sure we choose the artboard that we want specifically. So use artboards. You want the PNG file format to be selected, and you want the range to be number 3, because that's or whatever artboard that you're going to go with, and hit export. Now the option panel will come up. The screen resolution, you can make this medium, that's fine, or even high. I don't think it's going to be a real big file if you do the high. I would maybe pump it up to high. This is the thing to pay attention to. You want to make sure it's transparent, and then click OK. That will be saved to your desktop. You can move it into the folder that you're putting all of your stuff in. That's fine. It's a PNG file. But once you go back to InDesign, now you can place that logo in there. Boy, this still doesn't look all black. There we go. So I'm just going to drag another rectangle frame and do a Command D, which is File Place. I'm going to try and find that PNG file. Now I have both of them in that PNG file showing, so I'm going to have to crop my page, or my frame, sorry. But actually, let me bring that back up. We want it to be big, but not too big. You can center this in your layout here. So it looks like that. Your cover page too can have your information on there as well. You know, maybe the class number. So maybe DES. Let me see if I can see this here. Let's take the red. So I'm going to take my eyedropper tool. I'm just going to sample this red. DES340. And then maybe your name here. And I'm going to just put this in like a neutral font. All right. It doesn't have to be real big, just, you know, somewhere is fine. All right, so that would be the cover. Let me save this, 340, assessment 1, first and last name. And then the second page, which I forgot to put 2 pages in here, sorry guys. Oh, and I have facing pages selected. So go to File, Document Setup if you did what I did. Uncheck facing pages and put 2 for 2 pages. You want 2. I kind of screwed that up, sorry. All right, the second page basically is you're going to answer those following questions. I'm just going to copy and paste those questions from the actual assessment into here. Whoops, behind this. Make sure I'm sharing the right screen. Give me 1 minute here. Okay, there we go. Take the type tool. I'm just going to drag it out to my margins, and I'm going to type the questions in here. You don't have to keep the questions in here, but if you want to, I mean, if it helps, like answer each one of these, I'm fine with you guys keeping it as a 1, 2, 3 type thing. 1, 2, 3, 4 numbered thing. All right. Get all the spaces out of here. Hold on. That's what happens when you copy and paste. All right, when you're ready to answer these questions, you know, obviously you're going to put spaces in here. Go ahead and answer each one of these. That's a little smaller, this type font. So the brand key points that the logo conveys would be a bold and I'm just going to do a bold, refreshed look from the original logo. And I'm just typing this very quickly. So you really put a lot more thought into this. Talk about key points, what you want it to convey. Think about the old logo and how you're refreshing it. What are those key points, and what is the logo conveying to you know, the rebranded logo? Number 2, what makes the logo different from its competitors? So think about the colors, the shapes, the typeface, the look of it, the mood of it. You know, talk about that, how yours is set apart from the rest. Why did you choose the colors that you chose? You know, talk about color and think about color theory and past color theory classes. Maybe they're colors that you kept consistent with the old brand and you wanted to keep that consistency because the logo changed so much that you thought that would be the one consistent thing that could carry through. So, you know, you could talk about it in that regards. Maybe it's a total re-change of the color and talk about why you did that, why you used the color. And don't just say, oh, because I like that color. You know, obviously put your facts in there, why you used it. to support that. Why did you choose the typefaces? Think about this as if you're talking to the client, and you can come in with your adjective list at this point too. Same with the colors. I aligned us with the adjectives that came from the brand, the key brand words too. And they align really nicely with what the brand's about. In what way, kind of be very specific in answering. So you should have, some at least 250 words in there. Let me see here. I'm going to insert filler text here. So let's just pretend this is all the information that you're typing out. And this is Greek type. Okay. I'm just giving some space here. There we go. Okay. So there we go. Let's say I answered all of these in paragraph form. That looks pretty good. And then what you're going to do is just, again, export as a PDF. You can use outside resources for this too. Just make sure you cite them in there. You could cite them, add another page in the back and cite them there. It's completely up to you. I'm going to go File, Save as a PDF. Small quality size is fine because I'm just looking at this on the screen. All pages should be exported. And then, double check your PDF when you're done. Just make sure you have everything that needs to be in there. This is my PDF here. And I'm just showing one logo that I think is the strongest for my cover. And then my supportive copy and explaining each of my design choices and reasoning there. So just think of it as if you're talking to the client when you're answering these questions. You want to speak very professionally. You want to use terminology that we use in design. Talk about design principles. Talk about color theory. And you don't have to talk about the actual subject itself, but bring that in as facts to support why you did what you did. Okay, so that should be it for this one. And this should go pretty quickly, hopefully, because you hopefully are going through your process steps so that a lot of these questions are answered easily once you decide on the actual rebranded logo that you want to go forward with. Any questions about that? And you can, Thomas brought up a good question. Can you type this out in Word and then copy and paste it? You can do that, but don't forget there's spell check in here too. That's why you're doing why you're doing it that way. It's up to you how you want to start it. I'm fine if you're comfortable starting it in Word. That's fine. But if either way, do a spell check before you submit it. Go ahead and go up to excuse me. Go up to, I believe it's under type here, spell check. Right? Or under, here it is, sorry, under edit, spelling, check spelling. Oh, word count, okay. I think there's a word count in here too. Okay, I'm looking for that word count. There is no word count, I'm surprised. I'm still looking just to see if I missed it. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't know if there is not. I'll have to look that up a little bit more in detail. But yeah, there's definitely a spell check. I'm not sure if it's a word count, but yeah, that's something that you want to check for sure. So you would just copy and paste that in a Word document and do a word check or a word count check. Let me do a real quick search online to see if there is, and I'm just not seeing it here. Give me 1 minute. Word count in InDesign. Okay, so it says to open the info panel, go to window info to open the panel, conduct a word count to count words in a selected area of text. So there is, you just need to know where that's at. And I actually didn't know that, so that was a good. So go up to window info, go up to the upper right hand corner and see how it says words right here. I don't know if you guys can see that. In the info, there's characters, words, lines, and paragraphs. Characters are each letter count. Words, obviously, are each word count. Lines of text, paragraphs. I think that just is the returns that are in there. So it's actually counting 2 in between. But this is 632 words, way over what you guys need to do. You guys just need to do 250 at least. But there you go, learn something new today, Thomas. You could do word count in InDesign. Yeah, I didn't know that. Kind of funny. All right. Let me see what I got going on here. I think that we're at the end of what I have for you guys, slide-wise. Yeah, because we're going to do the assessment review and then your assignment 1, just demo, which I already did. Is there any questions or anything that you want to go over now that we're kind of at the end here? If you want to show anything, now's the time to do it. Nope. Okay. Well, that's pretty easy. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up. You guys can get started on your stuff. So let me know if you have any questions along the way. I'm going to actually create a critique area in week 1. It'll be kind of like a discussion area. You guys can post JPEGs, PDFs, whatever you want if you guys want extra feedback. It's kind of like a little critique area. Just make sure if you're not posting in there, just check in there. So if other people are, you know, you can give them feedback. Okay, sounds good, Thomas. Thank you. You guys have a wonderful weekend. If I don't get to talk to you guys, it's, you know, it's a little far away from now, but I might not be talking to you until next week. So let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to do your discussions before tomorrow by midnight, initial post. Don't forget to do your intro post, and your projects are due this Saturday before midnight Mountain Standard Time. All right. All right. Have a great week, and I'll be seeing you guys on the discussion boards. All right. Thanks, Thomas. Have a great day.